straight up, without missing a beat, I was like, it's more money. It's
Uncle Gold Clips. So somebody nailed their CV. Now they improved that they listen to the Uncle Gold podcast, right? They get their all the right answers here, and they improve their CV. They get the interview. What's kind of the tips that people could use maybe for nailing the interview better? Like I'm sure that can be useful for a lot of people, because some people can write a good CV, but then talking to a person directly is a whole different game.
Yeah, I think doing your homework is the biggest tip that I have. Make sure you've researched the company, know what their kind of unique selling point is, know who their competitors are, know where they are as a business. Like what I used to do before a lot of interviews that I've done in the past is check to see, okay, are they a privately owned or a publicly owned company?
Mm-hmm.
If they're publicly owned, or if they are on the stock market, how well have they been doing recently? Have they taken a bit of a nosedive? Do I want to work for that company if they have taken a nosedive? If they're doing very well, I'll make sure that I say that. If I don't know, there's other things as well, like if you can see that they have won a lot of awards for how they treat their staff. So like I know that Sigma did very well in terms of being a medium-sized business, treating their staff very well, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like that is a place that you want to work. I think the other thing is making sure you know your value, know your worth, and know your CV inside and out. Again, like if you've sent off a CV saying how fantastic you are and then you can't remember it, that's going to make you look a bit silly.
Yeah.
So just make sure you know your CV, make sure you know exactly what the job is that they're asking you to do, and that you're fully signed up for that. And again, just make sure that expectations are clear on both sides. So again, like I've been to job interviews in the past where the actual job that they were advertising wasn't necessarily the same as the job that they were putting in front of me. Mm-hmm. To which, again, like I knew my worth. I wasn't going to go burning bridges, but at the same time, I stopped the interview early and said, look, I'm sorry, but this isn't the job that was advertised. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. We'll call it a day there. So don't be afraid to, I suppose, say no as well. Mm-hmm. That's one actually that I need to pay a bit more attention to. I'd always say yes and yes and yes and yes, and it can become tiresome.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that it's also like a thing of practice. And at one point in my life, I was looking for a new job, and then I was like, all right, I literally don't know how this works. I want to figure it out. And then I applied to like 10 companies at the same time. And, like on the first interview, you're like very stiff, very like formal. So on the 8th, you're like, all right, so what can you offer me, right? Yeah, and you kind of have a completely different approach to the whole interview, and you talk differently to people. So I believe it's important to not just go for the one unicorn ideal company that you want, but maybe also put in like 1 or 2 practice interviews, or maybe just like talking
practice
to
with a friend.
or
exactly. Yeah, like I said earlier, in terms of making sure you do your homework, that isn't just limited to the company. Like there are so many other websites out there. Like you can look on Crunchbase, and you can look on Glassdoor and things like that, and you can get tips, and they will tell you like what they have for the interview process. Like you can see what questions people have been asked, and then go away and prepare your answers. Like there are certain answers that usually come up in interviews as well, like the style questions. There's a situation, how did you tackle it, what did you learn, and things like that from it. There are always like, what is your best feature, or what is your best quality, what is your worst, like what is the quality that you need to work on, like questions like that you can definitely research and kind of construct in advance. So I mean, there's nothing worse than going for an interview and being unprepared. Again, I remember when I worked in Santander, this is before I had any kind of recruitment experience, and I was applying for this position, which was kind of like a high end. It was for like the more wealthy customers, and it was better money than the job that I was working. So the chap asked me, he's like, okay, and why would you like this job? And straight up, without missing a beat, I was like, it's more money. It's more money. I would like to be paid more. And he was like, oh, right. Anyway, a few months passed, and I end up helping Santander with a job drive. And I'm working with the guy who did my interview and this, that, and the other. Anyway, the whole day goes on. And I actually bring up my job application to him, and he was like, I don't understand why, like, I had come across so badly in that interview, but then in person had come across so well. He was so confused how I could come across so bad in the interview. And I think that is the perfect, I suppose, like, epitome of, if you go in unprepared, you're almost not doing yourself a justice.
Yeah.
Like, not doing your homework, it can really, really put you on the back foot. So please, 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 please research your answers, research the company, go in eyes wide open. Because that's the other thing as well. Like, if you don't do your homework on the company, and again, like, they've taken a right nosedive the last 2 years off the stock market, or they've actually got a load of complaints on Glassdoor about how bad they are as a company to work for. Or if there's, I suppose, a ton of customer reviews about how terrible the product is, you know, like, don't apply for that job. Like, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, exactly. I agree on that one. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see the full version, go to the Uncle Gold Podcast YouTube channel or watch the next clip.